What's up, camera nerds? I got another Komodo X rig build video for you here. This one is more focused on run and gun, kind of doc style filmmaking where you need to have good onboard audio and all that. So I'm going to show you kind of how I configure that. Probably 6 or 8 months ago, I made another rig build video for the Komodo X, which is a super simple, clean build out video. And I still use that configuration quite a bit. I really love the outrigger handle and even the bright tangerine top handle. I still really like this top handle, and the only change I've really made to that configuration, which I still use quite a bit, is this little top handle monitor mount thingy, and that just allows me to mount the TSMC3 monitor to that. The only problem that I had with that configuration was onboard microphones and mounting audio and all that stuff. So I've made a few changes to that to really optimize the space and ergonomics for onboard audio. So if you are using your Komodo X for run and gun doc style stuff, this might be a helpful video for you. So like the last video that I did, I'm gonna kind of work my way from the back towards the front-ish and kind of go that direction. Kind of, I don't know, just makes sense to me. So that said, let's go ahead and jump into it. And first up is the batteries. I've typically been running the Core Nano Micro V-mount batteries, but Core just released the Nano X battery, and these are a massive improvement over the Nano Micro batteries. I'll make a video kind of go over more details on this battery in the future, but that's kind of what I'm using here. As for media, I'm still rocking the red branded CF Express Type B cards. These are Angelbird, made by Angelbird. They've never let me down, so I see no reason to get any other cards except for the red ones. And the 1 terabyte one is like $300, which is crazy. I'm actually link a video to that, why you should probably consider getting that for your Komodo X. Moving forward, for lensing and adapters, this just kind of changes depending on the shoot. But if I were doing like a run and gun, if I were shooting a doc, I could probably shoot an entire doc on just this lens. It's the 24-70 Art. I've had this lens for like 5+ years or something, and although it's heavy, it has optical stabilization, and it's a really good and sharp lens. And for the mount, if I'm running this lens, I'm typically running the EF to RF T-Cine adapter from Metabones. The reason why I like this is because it has a locking ring on it, so you kind of mount it kind of like you would a PL lens. So you get it seated, and then this locks in, and then with the locking ring on the Komodo X, this thing is super solid and has absolutely zero play. And typically with this lens, I'll just pull focus off the barrel of the lens, but I also have different adapters depending on what kind of lens I'm using. Like for example, if I'm using PL lenses, I have the Metabones PL to RF T-Cine adapter here. I'm not sponsored by Metabones or anything. I've purchased all these with my own money. I just used a lot of Metabones adapters in the past, and I've been really happy with them. So I got the PL adapter. I also have the Canon focal reducer that I might actually swap that out for the Metabones T-Cine adapter as well, only because that has a locking ring as well. I could put the 24-70 on it and kind of have more of a full frame field of view, and then still have that locking ring. Just kind of makes everything a much more solid connection. I'm still rocking the bright tangerine side plate here. This is just a great little side plate because it has a built-in NATO rail and also some 3/8 by 16 and 1/4 20 mounts so that you can mount accessories. Speaking of which, one accessory I do mount from time to time depending on the need is this right here. This is bright tangerine 15mm rod adapter, and it's got the 3/8 by 16 with the locating pins. And typically what I'll do is I'll mount it right here on the very top one. And the reason I will do that is if I'm kind of running and gunning and I still need to have a follow focus, wireless follow focus, for example, what I can do is attach my wireless follow focus here, clamp that down, obviously not with this lens because I don't have a ring on it, but if I were to use something like a smaller PL lens like the Laowa Nanomorph here, or maybe like a Vespid, or even like this right here is the Zhongyi Speedmaster, which has focus rings on it. Some of these smaller lenses, I would use a follow focus like this, so I can just mount that right there, run power to this. And then I'm using the Tilta Nucleus Nano 2 system, and this is fantastic because this mounts directly to a NATO rail So that just gives me a super clean way to mount my focus wheel and have follow focus here all together in one, and that's really nice. And the great thing is if I'm filming an interview or something, I put this down on a tripod, I can move the monitor over and take a look at it, and if there is a little bit of focus adjustments that needed, I can make quick little focus changes just right here without having to touch the lens and shake the camera or anything, and be a little bit less distracting if I'm conducting the interview. But again, this just depends on if I'm using a lens that needs a follow focus. Now, if I'm using a bigger lens that I need to, want to mount a follow focus and other peripherals and stuff, and even a lens support, then I'm going to use this is the Bright Tangerine, the left field baseplate system. And the awesome thing is if I am running a really big and heavy rig, what I can do is right now I've got my tripod plates just attached to the smaller dovetail plate. But what I can do is if I have a much bigger rig, this is an airy dovetail mount right here, so you can mount it on the much bigger airy dovetail plates so that you can counterbalance it and make sure it's perfectly balanced on a tripod. And then of course I have the Bright Tangerine plate for the Komodo X, which is also compatible with the DJI RS3 Pro and stuff. And the only thing I've changed here is I've taken off the little geared track that usually sits right here. And the reason why I did that was just so I could mount this to my tripod without the need of using this base plate for whatever reason. So it just kind of gives me that flexibility. All right, next up, I have the red DSM-C3 monitor. I've made quite a bit of content on this. I've made a full video on all the benefits of having the DSM-C3 monitor on the Komodo X. I just love this monitor because it has camera control and it frees up the SDI and the EXT port. So I only really need to have one cable, and it is super clean here. And then mounted on the DSM-C3 monitor base, I have the red top handle for Komodo and Komodo X. It's awesome because you can trigger record from it, and it's just super solid. It's really comfortable to hold and works as a top handle. So there's really nothing else to say about that. Moving to the other side is where probably the biggest change has happened to my rig since my last build out video. And that all has to do with this side plate here. This is a mid 49 side plate for the Komodo X, and the reason why I got that is because I got the mid 49 XLR adapter for the Komodo X, and this really changes the game in my opinion for the Komodo X, because this gives you two full-size XLR ports that provide phantom power, and the Komodo X preamps being so clean, I feel really confident running audio straight into camera. In fact, a lot of my piece to camera videos for YouTube actually use the Komodo X and run the MTG5 directly into the Komodo X via this adapter, and it sounds really great. So that's what I have here. I've also got a side handle. This is a small rig handle. It's just an airy rosette mount, and there's an airy rosette mount on the mid 49 plate. So just super easy, and it's a really comfortable handle. I still prefer the ergonomics of the outrigger handle, but the outrigger handle really gets in the way and isn't ergonomic when it comes to mounting microphones, and that is the next thing we'll talk about. I've got a small rig cold shoe mount here on the top of the mid 49 side plate here, and that is so I can mount my audio to this side of the camera. So if I'm just running onboard audio, maybe I just want to have a shotgun mic for better onboard audio, what I do is right here I have the Rode Video Mic NTG. It's a great sounding mic, especially for onboard audio. And what I do is I just mount it with a Andy Cine cold shoe mount here, and what this just allows me to do is just offset the mic to get around the monitor here and still get it above my hand. So as you can see, when it's mounted, it's clearing my hand, no problem. It's not in the way, and I have really quick access to change any kind of gain or anything here. And then what I'll do is I just use one of these 1/8 inch to XLR adapters here, and I will just use that to plug into channel 1 here, and then I will tuck the cable away using a sprig, which I thought I had somewhere around here. Now if I want to run lav audio, what I'll do is I will actually add this thing right here. This is Rode cold shoe, a double cold shoe adapter thing, I don't know what it's called. And then I'll just use another one of these little Andy Cine things and mount this to the back of the receiver here. And then theos comes with this little XLR to 3.5 millimeter. And I will just run this either into channel 1 or 2, depending on what I'm considering to be my primary audio source. And the cool thing is this receiver will actually allow you to receive the signal from 2 transmitters into 1. So if I'm running audio for 2 people, if I'm laving up 2 people, what I can do is actually in this output A, I can actually assign output A to have both receivers 1 and 2 out through the same output and into 1 channel. This obviously limits you because you can't isolate the tracks on camera to isolate levels, but if you're giving yourself enough headroom, this is a really good way to get 2 channels of audio into 1 track on the Komodo X, and then obviously have backup shotgun audio as well. And this is super clean and it's super out of the way, and these little mounts are great because you can like swivel these around. So if you want to have a look at your audio levels and make sure everything looks good on the pack, you can do that. Or if you want to get it out of the way, super easy to do that. And then lastly, I have the Deity, the TC1. These are my Timecode boxes that I use. And typically what I'll do in this instance is I will just put a little bit of Velcro here on the side of the battery. And then I'll just mount the TC1 right here. And then use this 3.5 millimeter to EXT cable. Because I have the DSMC3 monitor, it frees up the EXT port for me to use for Timecode, which is really awesome. And if you are not in the US, with the Deity Theos, you can actually transmit your audio and record 32-bit float on the packs themselves, which is awesome. So if you're running Timecode into camera, especially with the Deity TC1, and you are recording to the packs and recording into the camera, you basically have Timecode synced already between all those audio sources. So it's a lot easier to sync up everything in post-production. So this is kind of the cleanest solution that I could come up with getting, you know, a shotgun and the lavalier audio in camera. And, you know, with the top handle, I could run this to an easy rig, no problems. This is, again, like, this is basically like configuration number 2, if you will. And my other video is configuration number 1, which I still use that configuration quite a bit too. It just depends on the scenario. I will leave links to everything down in the description below. And, if you do end up purchasing any of this stuff, it'd be greatly appreciated if you use those links, because they are affiliate links. Doesn't cost you anything extra, but it just helps this channel out and helps kind of reinvest into this channel to continue making more of these build out videos, and we can all nerd out together. So anyways, that is pretty much it for this video. I appreciate you watching, and happy building. Peace.